Spurs 2, City 2, with the visitors failing to keep the pressure on Arsenal and keeping the gap to 4 points. Jamie, you were at the game. How are you feeling after that? Because City were in total control.
Yeah, half time. I'm happy. Sort of, I don't think we played, the best we've played this season, but it was comfortable. 2-0 up away from home at Spurs, especially our bogey team. You're happy. Then the second half happens, and once again this season we're just not the same side. I really don't understand how we constantly have a good half and then a terrible half. But I think the biggest talking point has to be Solanke's first goal. Well, if you can call it Solanke's, anyway, I just don't understand football at the moment. I don't understand what's a foul, what's not a foul, because everything that I think of is clearly wrong. VAR, well, I don't blame VAR as the concept, it's the referees that just are, in my opinion, getting the decisions wrong every single week. And it's not just one game a week. It's basically every game. You can watch so many games and you're just like, that's wrong, that's massively wrong. And these things cost teams points. City have lost 2 points because of that goal. Because for me, I don't see how we actually draw that game or lose the game if that first goal doesn't count. And that's I should be sat here going, City have been terrible in that second half, and going, why are City terrible in that second half? When we could have got away with it. And that's my biggest sort of problem in this game. I don't understand how referees are being so bad this season. And City weren't good in the second half. I can fully understand you going, we were terrible. But we wouldn't have drawn that game if that first goal doesn't get correctly ruled out.
Yeah, there's definitely a wider issue at the minute with VAR and officials and all the rest of it. But I think for City, obviously for your perspective, we can talk about the refereeing, but you've lost the game because you've not turned up in the second half, probably for the 10th, 11th time this season. Spurs were just absolutely dead. The fans were flat for the whole half. They didn't even bother coming to their seats. They missed the goal. No one cared. There was no atmosphere in that ground at all, or at least you couldn't hear it on TV. Spurs were there for the taking. You should be winning that game 4-5-0. But, and we can address it, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know whether it's fitness. I don't know whether it's complacency on Pep's part. I don't know. But again, I just think that the goal itself, we can argue. I know he goes through the back of his leg at the end of the day. So I think there's an argument. Absolutely, there's a foul. I think he gets away with it because he's hit the ball round. But I'm not saying I agree with that. But for City, I think it's the easy route just to say the refs cost us. The reality is you've not been good enough. You've won 1 in 6 in the Premier League, and that's not the refs' fault. That's because City are not good enough right now to win the title. And I think personally that is the bigger problem than
I've
moaning
said
about
this though, haven't
decisions.
I've said this. I said I
Yeah.
don't think we are good enough to win the league. But this is 5 points for me over some of these sort of like you're saying one in the last. We've won one in the last what 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah, 1 in 6 Prem wins, which
But
is
we
just
still we still could have
great.
gained 5 more points, which would have put us a point behind Arsenal. For me, in terrible refereeing positions. Talking about this fat foul that gives Spurs a goal and the knee high studs on Dallo at Old Trafford. It is, but these are massive. This is costing us actually being close to Arsenal, and I don't think we are good enough to win the league. I've seen what it takes to win the league, especially in the last sort of 10 years, and we're nowhere near that. We're not. We're not good enough in that aspect. And yes, sometimes refereeing decisions do go against you, and that's why I don't think we're going to win it, regardless, even if we got these extra 5 points. But I just don't understand it in that aspect because you've got VAR. VAR is not a problem, by the way. It's the people using it. If I'm being given video evidence of a decision that the ref can't see in real time, I don't blame the referee for not seeing that foul in real time because there was loads of players around that. So there's no way it would have, no way it would have been disallowed pre-VAR. But when you've got the aids to help you, why can we still not get it right? That's my biggest problem with it. But yes, I should be sat here going, why is City terrible in the second half of so many football matches? Saw it against Chelsea when we drew 1-1 and I know it was 94th minute and I was fuming, but we were still terrible in that second half. It's happened time and time again with it. Referees aren't an excuse why we're not winning the league, but we'd be a lot closer in recent weeks through stupid refereeing decisions, in my opinion. But yes, we're not good enough, essentially. Spurs are there for the taking. Spurs aren't a good side. They're not at the moment, and Spurs fans know this. They were, like some of them you saw online, were hoping we'd win just because of the whole Arsenal rivalry, but it was also because they knew they're not competing for anything. If they're competing for, top four places, then yes, they'd be like, we actually do need the points. But they're not in a relegation battle. They're not, going to get anywhere up the table. It's just a weird one at Spurs, to be honest, from my point of view. And we made them look good in the second half, and that shows how bad we are in that way.
I mean, yeah, if you look at, I think the VAR decision's obviously what's turned the game on its head, but what do we make of Rodri's comments? Rodri seems to have his tinfoil hat on with his conspiracy theories. So, what are we making out on his comments here, implying that the referee's not impartial? Because Pep's done it, so now his captain's doing it. So I understand why that's going to do it, but is he allowed or should he be saying that, do we think? Because I think personally, he should be fined for this and potentially banned because he's implying that referees are cheating, and I think that's wrong.
I think the biggest irony of this, and this just sums up football managers and players, is in that Spurs game, he 100% should have been sent off. There was two instances. What the first one was definitely. The second one you can argue was soft, but they always give you a yellow card for that. I don't disagree with him coming out and saying it as such because he's just showing frustration. But pick your timing, mate, because he should not have been on the pitch, and he's then moaning about the refs, literally in a game where he's not been sent off for a red card. So in the context of the timing and everything, I think it's just abysmal to say that, and it just shows how biased people are
I
and how
mean,
naive footballers are.
like I've said before, is when it goes against you, look at every nook and cranny, don't you? I'm pretty sure Rodri didn't say anything about the game against Liverpool earlier in the season, did he? With the Andy Robertson decision where Van Dijk equalised? Or we're not hearing him about, was it Bernardo Silva against Wolves last season? Or perhaps Nathan Ake, not Nathan, yeah, Nathan Ake, who got a goal stood against Wolves when Akanji was offside. Those
Just
things,
quickly,
yes, they don't impact the season as much, but I've noticed he seemingly forgot those. And it's
Rodri, by the way, Rodri literally a few games ago did the exact same thing and got sent off against Bodo Glimt. So this is not about referees. This is Rodri is deflecting from his own lack of performance. This is a Ballon d'Or winner who is now getting stupid second yellow cards, putting himself and his team at risk. And rather than accept that, he's chatting shit about referees. So for me, I think it's actually quite ridiculous, and it's very very lazy. He needs to look in the mirror rather than just blaming officials.
I do agree on the sort of the Bodo Glimt one was absolutely. I don't expect that from an 18-year-old coming in for their first game. It was just it was like he was done with the game in that one. We'd had
It
a
was one
terrible
minute as
time.
well.
Yeah.
Like,
It was terrible. We shouldn't have been doing that. The Spurs one today, I have now seen the incident and gone, yes, that is a second yellow card. The second one that I saw during the game where I have seen them not given. Sometimes they are given. Normally, with the second card, refs bottle it. With the first one, though, yes, that is a yellow card. But to be, I don't know, to the ref's defence, if you're keeping consistency, you want to look at the tackle that Basuma put on Rodri on the 20th minute that wasn't a yellow. So it was kind of if that's not a yellow, then it was slightly consistent. I think consistently bad. So both should have been yellows. But forgetting about that, talking about should Rodri say it, I want players to do it more. because these referees have been awful. It's not referees are just getting away with it. They're hiding behind VAR. Why should that be allowed? You can't just consistently have crap games using things to help you out and still be terrible. The officiating is awful, and I want managers to call it out, but they're not allowed to. So yes, he will get a fine from what Reece sort of said. Pep probably will get a fine, although Pep does it, with a bit more clever in sort of he'll say it in, he'll make, sort of questions about it rather than outright saying it. Like I think in the interview, Pep went, "That's one more." Like won't actually go into detail on it, so he can't actually call him out about it. But we all know what he means. There's ways
But
of saying it.
would you rather see that though, or would you rather Rodri come out and say, "Look, I'll be honest, I've not been good enough. The team's not been good enough. We need to look in the mirror and turn it around," rather than just blaming a ref?
I'd like both.
Yeah, fair.
I want to hear his personal opinion of going the referee. You're like, what are you doing in that position? And then go, but for the rest of it, we weren't good enough for 45 minutes because we weren't. I'm kind of in the mix of both. I
Yeah.
want to hear my players be honest and allow it, but they won't. And just to sort of go on to your point, Reese, he's not going to bring up stuff from last season, is he? Like, come on, in his interview, he's not going to go, actually, fair play, things like that. No one does it. No one's going to do
Yeah,
it.
I know,
I'm
I
not
know.
going to do it. You're not going to do it. Jordan's not going to do it. None of these players are going to do it.
It exposes a bit of ignorance, in my opinion, that
There
it
is,
even
look,
eventually.
teams always do get decisions your way and against you. But when I know like I'm saying, we're not good enough for the title, but when we could be so close, we could be a point in with us, a point away from Arsenal. Well, I don't think we're good enough to win the league, and it just takes two decisions that I still don't understand either of them, despite the referees coming out going, no, no, they're the right decisions, and there's still not any real reasoning for it. When football fans up and down the country have all gone, that's a foul, that's a red card, blah blah blah. When football fans, a lot of them come out going, why has this been given? It was like I know this wasn't Premier League, but it's like the Semenyo disallowed against Newcastle. You had fans all over the country. You have Newcastle fans even going, like they just didn't know what to do. So this is the problem I have with it. It's not an excuse for us not to win the league. I just don't think we're at it, and that's regardless of whether we're 1 point away from Arsenal or six, which we are now. It's regardless in that. It's just I don't want games to be. I don't want to see my team be punished for bad refereeing, and I do think that is costing us points. Because at the end of the day, I want to be walking out of Tottenham with a smile on my face, not absolutely fuming that we've dropped a two goal lead.
That's fair enough. I think my key takeaway from the game is that if Dominic Solanke stays fit, Thomas Tuchel should be taking him on that plane to the World Cup. I think he's really making a name for himself. So there we go there. So speaking of 6 points, then Arsenal are 6 points clear at the top. They answered a lot of questions at Ellen Road, which is a tough place to go. Leeds have turned it around. They've drawn with Liverpool, they've drawn with United, and they've beaten Chelsea there. So Arsenal, after their defeat to United, in my opinion, I thought this was a horrible game for them to come into, and I was expecting to be sitting here today with a 1 point lead, not a six. But they passed the test with flying colours. I mean, goal an XG of what, 2.39, nine shots on target. Zubamendi, Madueke, Gyökeres, and Gabriel Jesus all scoring. How important is this game, do you think, as we look towards the rest of the season? Because to me, it was massive, not just to win, but to win so convincingly.
Yeah, you're just starting to tick off games now that previous years you probably would have bottled. I know we had the debate last week about the title race, and I think, Reece, to your point, you, you're seeing in 2 weeks we've seen the bottle side of Arsenal, we've seen the resilient side of Arsenal, and it's hard to predict. But I think that is a massive win, as you said. We've seen against the top sides recently how good Leeds are against Chelsea, Liverpool, the comeback against City. Like, so to go there and just absolutely obliterate them, not even concede, I think is massive for Arsenal. When you chuck in the mix of Man City then dropping points and Villa, honestly, what a state. I know they're doing well, but like 10 men Brentford for basically the whole game and they've lost. I think the evidence is overwhelming. Arsenal are going to win the title. It won't be in the prettiest form. It won't be winning every game, but it doesn't matter really. Um, yeah, you're passing tests at the same rate you're failing them, but you're gaining points, and ultimately you can cut out all the noise. People will say you're not the greatest team to win the Prem, blah blah blah, which I do agree with, but they all count the same. And right now, all you've got to look is the net difference between yourself and Man City, and it's growing every weekend. So Arsenal fans should be buzzing.
I disagreed with what you were saying. Like, it's a tough game. It's a game you should be winning if you're going to win the league. And I think it would have been worse for you and a harder game if this game was on TV. That's where I think the pressure mounts, and that's where you see games like your Bournemouth away, where it's your 3-2. It was a bit more of your sort of, I don't know. I feel like it is that sort of. There's a bit of more added pressure when you know you're on TV, and that's where when I saw it as 3 o'clock Saturday, 3 o'clock, I thought you're gonna cruise it. Maybe not 4-0. 4-0 was above and beyond, but I didn't see you dropping points, and I see it. You've got your next game. Your next one at home is Sunderland. Yeah, you drop points at their place. They're a different team at home to away, but you're playing them 3 o'clock Saturday. That will not be a tough game. You will win that. You'll win that sort of like a 2-0, or at most it'll be a 2-1, and Sunderland score in the 90th minute. It won't be as dramatic as these games are when they're on TV, and I do think there is a difference between playing on TV and not for some of these games. And I saw it with City over sort of several years. I think our record at 3 o'clock Saturday games in the time where we were winning leagues was ridiculous. It was sort of, I think we went unbeaten for such a long period in these Saturday 3 o'clock games, and that's what Arsenal need to do, and that's what they did do against Leeds. And it it's games. Yes, you lost against United, but you just bounce back. Next game, right? Let's win. Go. Right, let's win. Go. Drop points here. Okay, fine. Get on with it. And that's what Arsenal can do. They're not one. I don't see them going and losing two, three. Well, let's say three in a row. I don't see that happening. Maybe they've been drawing a few, but they're not. They're not massive losses, and that's, I think, what keeps you ticking and keeps going with the points tally, and that's all you need.
Yeah, and I think as well, like a big shout out to Madueke who stepped in for an injured Saka, got his first league goal of the season, registered an assist as well. I think he's been good despite the stats not necessarily showing it. And I think again, with the
I
way
just want to
Tuchel likes
say,
to
just
play, I
sorry,
think
quickly,
yeah, go on.
should that be a goal? Should that be his goal? Because let's be honest, is it Darlow I think was in goal? He's punched it in.
Yeah, it's quite a
Like,
strange one. They requested it to
absolute.
be given to him and he got it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna
Yes,
ask
yeah,
if I
yeah.
can give him
Arsenal
the
fans should,
Aguero
because
93 goal.
Jordan put out a
Um,
stat of like he hadn't scored in 12 months, and then they go and give him that, which I just found hilarious, to
I
be
think
honest.
that was his. Yeah, that was his first Prem assist, I believe. Obviously, when it assist being the cross, I think for 400 days. So he's now registered one Prem goal that he's had to beg for. So congratulations, Madueke. Unbelievable signing for 55 million. He's better than Esteval. He's better than Neto. Yeah, he can take a corner. Unbelievable. That's my thoughts
I
on that.
think he stepped in very well, like to take that corner and for that to still go in. It's a set piece goal, right? So I give him his dues there, and I do think the way Tuchel likes to play, I think Madueke is a great possible addition for the plane as well. So speaking of 6 points, then Leeds are also 6 points clear of the drop. Just quickly, obviously not much to make of their performance, one shot on target. Is this going to be where we see Leeds slip, or do we think they're going to finish quite comfortable above the bottom three?
I don't think this game matters. It did not matter. This was a game that, if even the most optimistic Leeds fan would not have them winning. It's a game where, if you get anything, great. If not, don't worry about it. Go on to next week. It's the next games that matter more, not when you're playing Arsenal, City, Chelsea, whoever's near the top. They're not the games that matter. Personally, I do think Leeds will stay up. Um, I just don't see the three teams below in the relegation battle like getting more points. 6 points is a lot in a relegation battle compared. I think it's a bigger gap than what it would be in a title race. Because the title race, the teams win more. These they lose more. 3 points is big. Six is massive, and I think Leeds will be fine.
Yeah, I mean it's Forest next on, under the Friday night lights, which I think is a big opportunity for them to pull, an extra few points clear, get 3 points clear of them, and then of course 9 points clear of the drop. So
That's the game
yeah,
that matters.
Oh,
That's the
yeah,
what a
they
game
game.
won't
that
look
matters.
they won't look too much into that because they've got a rough few fixtures ahead after that. Chelsea away, Villa away, City at home. So yeah, I think they won't look too much into this, but not getting 3 points against Forest is going to be tough for them. But keep Calvert-Lewin fit again, another potential candidate for the World Cup. It's funny how players decide to turn up when the World Cup's on the horizon. So why don't we move on then to the other big game of the weekend? It was West versus East London, the middle class versus the working class of the city. Chelsea, after being booed off at half time, came back and won in quite dramatic circumstances. And then, of course, another famous battle of the bridge. There seems to be quite a lot of those, whether it's Spurs, Leeds, Arsenal, Millwall. Now you can add West Ham to that list. Jordan, you were there at the game. What did you make of the first half performance, first of all?
Uh, I don't think we're allowed to say certain words on YouTube, so I can't accurately sum up the first half. But yeah, it was nothing short of an absolute disgrace on every level. I'd probably put it down as one of the worst first halves I've seen for probably 2, 3 years from us. Um, Absolutely no energy, no defending, no attacking other than a free kick, which was the wrong decision. Um, Literally nothing. The players couldn't string 2 or 3 passes together. I want to see our passing accuracy stats. I'd be quite interested to see that number. It's probably be below 50%. It was shambolic. It was absolutely shambolic. He rotated the team, which is maybe why. But at the end of the day, these players have got to step up. Like, Garnacho, at the minute, he's not number one starter. I like him. I think he's got potential. But he dropped an absolute generational stinker in that first half, whereby you're putting yourself back in the pecking order, not forward. So I think that's a concern. Um, yeah, yeah. The first half was just a 0 out of 10 from literally every player on the pitch.
I mean, he had made 7 changes to be fair, but I agree with the strength and depth you've got, they should have been doing better. But West Ham were fantastic.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing, and I agree. Like I know people made a big deal about the booing off, but I agree with it because if you just sit there and don't say anything, then it's like they don't think anything's wrong. I like to think that booing motivates players a little bit, and I believe you said Sanchez, telling fans to calm down, etc. That's the attitude I want to see. He knows they're going to come back, and that
mm.
was good. And he was very quick to make the changes, which I think is really, really good from Rosenior. Too many coaches make changes too late, or they. And I think he jumped straight in and made those, and that of course impacted the game. But what did you make of the second half?
Yeah. Literal textbook definition of a game of two halves. As I said, we were terrible. West Ham were excellent, and then it just completely flips on the absolute opposite. I think West Ham are caught in a bit of a weird position where it's like, do we just stick 10 men behind the ball, or do we keep going for it? And I think they tried to keep going for it initially. We finally worked out how to defend the ball, and pretty much the whole half, it was the most inevitable Chelsea comeback. Obviously, the momentum, the crowd changes, but there was such a belief, more so than I've ever seen before, that from the fans to the players, that we were gonna come back and win the game. And you always see that with comebacks, obviously, but that's the first time in Prem history, apparently, that we've come back from a 2-0 lead and won 3-2, which I think is was a ridiculous stat. Um, well, it's one of the first times in history we've done it. There might be certain criteria to that, but it felt so inevitable as soon as we got that João Pedro goal. The subs as well. Again, you can use it to both credit and discredit Rosenior. Arguably, he got the starting lineup wrong, but then he's got to make changes, right? He made the changes. The three players that come on, Fafana got the assist for the first goal. João Pedro got a goal and assist, and Cucurella got a goal. So you cannot do any better from subs than that. So yeah, buzzing with the result, absolute limbs, quality scenes. The scrap as well was brilliant. All of that was brilliant entertainment. But if we want to get anywhere in this league, we cannot be doing that. Even though West Ham are great, we have to find a way to be better than that in the first half.
What do you think, Jamie? Do you think Liam Rosenior is proving the doubters wrong? I'm beating in five.
Um, it's still way too early to sort of have a jury out on whether he's good or whether he's not. Um, but I see a big problem that's a Chelsea problem, and I don't think it matters who the manager is, and that some players just aren't good enough. And yes, you can. I think this is common at Chelsea. They have times where they dominate the game, and then you'll go and draw or lose, and a lot of the times it's at home. And it was, I think, Sunderland earlier on in the season at home. You've seen it with various other teams, and I think it's a bit of a Chelsea problem where the starting 11 is very, very good. The players that aren't in the team aren't up to scratch. And if Chelsea want to be trying to compete for the title, it's them players that need to be a lot better. Because Chelsea against Liverpool, City, Arsenal, you'll compete in them games because you'll start your strongest 11 and you're very good. But when you have to, the reason why Rosenior didn't start his strongest team is because they got to try and make a comeback against Arsenal in the cup midweek. That's the reason for not starting your strongest team, and I agree with it, to be honest, because the players that he put out should beat West Ham, but they're not. It's just not working. In certain players, I think that you've purchased, I don't think are going to be the level that you need in order to win the big silverware. Because let's be honest, if you're playing in let's say you play in the, you get through and you're in the Carabao Cup final, not that many of them that starting 11 against West Ham plays in the final, and you do need a squad because players get injured. Sometimes you've got to rotate your squad, and unfortunately, I think this is more of a Chelsea problem rather than Rosenior's got the problem because he's the head coach. But I think it's a Chelsea problem in that aspect, and that's what I gathered from the West Ham game. In terms of the West Ham point of view, where was this first half team for so long? Because that first half, they were brilliant. Like, you could not ask for a better first half away from home against the top six side. Because everything they did worked. They absolutely bombarded that right hand side for them, left hand side for Chelsea, and were dominant. That ball came over. They were the ones who were winning the first ball and the second ball, and sometimes even the third ball. And then when they went to get forward, the passes were right. The second half, I think I agree with Jordan where they didn't know what to do because they kind of went, if we actually do go for a counter attack, we leave ourselves exposed. And I think they got in their heads and kind of just thought, right, let's hope they don't score three. Or let's hope they don't score two. Let's hope they don't score three. And Chelsea did. And credit to Chelsea for coming back. So I think, well done to them in the end. But I'd be more concerned about the players who are on the fringe. I don't think are quite good enough. And in terms of the booing in the first half, I think fans should be allowed to do what they want in, respectful terms, not going above the line. Booing is absolutely fine when the performance is not good enough. City fans did this when we played Spurs at home. We ended up being 2-0 down at half time and we played shockingly and it was just sort of not acceptable. And this is when we won the league that year and we've booed them during that time. I think it should happen. And then we went round and we won the 4-2. because we have to say this isn't good enough, especially for teams that want to win silverware. There has to be a level of going, no, no, no. You don't just get away with this. That first half is just not on. You've got to go up a level and prove that you're worth us spending the money that we do to watch you play football.
Yeah, I fully agree. It was a disgraceful half. It's one of the worst we've watched in 2 years. Obviously, fans are going to boo if they want to boo. Like, what where I don't agree is going, oh, like sack the manager because of a bad first half. Like, that's just fucking stupid, right? But ultimately, if you see a 0 out of 10 half, you're absolutely entitled to boo the players and tell them how bad it was. Sanchez, to be fair, has come across really well, and he's kind of U-turned from literally 100% of the fan base thinking he's a clown and wanting him out. He's starting to fair play prove the doubters wrong, and it's a shame he messed up in that Arsenal game because outside of that, he really, really has not put a foot wrong this entire season and has bowed us out more times than I can count. So shout out to Sanchez in terms of his mentality and actually his turnaround, but yeah, I think you're fully entitled, and maybe if we hadn't booed, the comeback wouldn't have happened. We don't know, but the
There,
crowd was fully behind the team in that second half, and it
there
and
you
it
go.
paid.
Chelsea fans, let us know what you think in the comments. Were they right to boo? Are you happy with the result? However, just in the interest of time, we do have a couple left, just rounding off the top five. So from the bridge to the park, that's Villa Park, lost another winnable game at home to 10-man Brentford. Just quickly, you two sum up that performance from Villa, and do we expect them to still either challenge for the title, or do you still expect them to finish in the top four?
Title, absolutely not. You cannot lose a game against 10 men for basically the whole game at home. So title race is ruled out officially from that. But they're in a great position for the top four, so I think they'll bounce back. They'll be in the mix. But they're going to do probably a bit of a Forest now. They've been outperforming their XG. They're just going to slowly slide down a bit now and be in the top five race.
Yeah, I never thought they were going to win the league. They've done very, very well, but yeah, it wasn't going to win the league. Top four, yes, for now, but if they keep going like this, they could, yeah, do a Forest and drop further down. When they've been, I think they have been the third best side in the league. So they got to hope they don't just ruin it in the last sort of quarter of a season.
There we go. Yep. Bournemouth next for Aston Villa. And then finally, the team in fourth, Old Trafford, new manager bounce. What are we thinking? United leave it late again to secure a 3-2 win against Fulham. The
I
Michael
was
Carrick effect
fuming.
is
I had 2-2 on my Super Six, so when that second goal went in, I was buzzing. I was looking on 16 points with the City game to go. I was like, you know what, I'm having a very good week, and then they go and score. Ah, yeah, and it was
Uh,
United as well, so I'd rather them just, never pick up any points. But look, fair play to United to not, like, 91st minute, Fulham equalised, and they've gone, no, 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 let's keep going. And then they got the goal, and I think Sesko did very well with his finish. I'm not his biggest fan, but you have to give him credit for that goal in the manner of the goal and the quality of the goal. So fair play to him. But calm down, you're not in a title race, United fans. Because I've seen a lot of you piping up about it.
well, they're certainly creeping up if they carry on this form.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But for them, again, they're doing well in the top four race. Confidence is everything in football sometimes. They've got the confidence. For the last 10 years, they wouldn't believe they can come back because they've won a few games. Now they believe again. But they're still capable of bottling a 2-0 lead in 10 minutes. So obviously, they're not in a title race.
Mm. There you have it then. There we go. We focus on the top five this week because they were the games that certainly had a lot to talk about. Sorry, Liverpool. I know we did just miss you out, but well done on your 4-1 win. But let us know what you think in the comments. If we didn't cover your team, how did you get on and what are your thoughts on the key takeaways from your games? And of course, as always, like, share, and subscribe to the Lost in Possession podcast.